Hey, I'm Brittany. Today we're going to be talking about how to treat colds and flus at home with homeopathy. We're going to go over a little bit of prevention, because of course prevention is always better than cure, but also how to find a correct remedy. Colds and flus are a great way to start to learn how to use homeopathy in terms of matching a disease to a remedy, because they're relatively simple and the symptoms are usually sort of in your face. Right, with the chronic diseases, sometimes it's a little bit difficult to parse out what's a symptom, what's just normal, because we're all a little bit different, right? But in a cold and flu, it's very clear what you need to find a remedy to cover, right? So we're going to use them as a way to start to learn how to find a correct remedy in general. And then at the end, I'll start talking a little bit about some common remedies in cold and flu and how to take remedies as well. So quick disclaimer before we begin, all of this is only educational. It is not medical or health advice. So a little bit about me. I went to the Canadian College of Naturopathic and the Canadian College of Homeopathic Medicine. Before that, I studied music. Once upon a time, I was going to be an opera singer a very long time ago. But I saw the light and I came to alternative healthcare. In my private practice, I only use homeopathy. So let's get into prevention a little bit. So the basics are these things that it's hard to be healthy without them, just in general. So you can't take so many supplements that your diet doesn't matter, right? Like you can't just take vitamin C but never eat fruits and vegetables. It's just not that simple. So with nutrition, when it comes to immunity in particular, I mean, basically just the stereotypical healthy diet, right? You want fruits and vegetables, as many different colors as you can possibly get, because every single color is a different antioxidant, essentially. So as many colors as you can get, as many different types of fruits and vegetables as you can get into your diet, the more the better, okay? You also need adequate protein. The immune system is a very hungry system. You need lots of protein to build it back up. Then I think those are the basics. No, I'm forgetting. Liver, you can also take a lot of, relatively speaking, because it's got a lot of vitamin A. Vitamin A is fantastic for your immune system. Okay, and I say that partly also because I don't want to make it sound like animal products aren't important. They definitely are. It's just that most of us are getting enough animal products. We're not always getting organ meats, and we're not always getting the fruits and vegetables that we need. Okay, exercise is interesting in that, so it works by what's called hormesis, which is a stress to the body during the stressful period. So while you're exercising, your immune system doesn't work as efficiently because all of your energy is being placed, or your body's resources are going to your muscles, and your muscles are under a lot of stress. After the stress passes, so after you stop exercising, your body gets stronger so that it can be more resilient to that stress in the future. So this goes for the immune system too. Your immune system is not as effective while you're exercising, but more effective after. So if you are somebody who regularly exercises, your immune system is getting stronger because of the continual stress to the immune system. But this also means if you are fighting something, you really don't want to exercise heavily while you're fighting something, because exercise does decrease your immune system. Okay, sunlight, we all know in terms of vitamin D, and vitamin D is vital for immune system function. At this time of the year, it is now November in Canada, and there's no vitamin D to go around these days. So we need to be supplementing vitamin D, but in the summer months, you do get vitamin D from sunlight. There is also endorphin release in sunlight and exposure to red light and near infrared light. Both of those will help your immune system as well. So it's not just vitamin D. Stress, we all know we get more sick when we're stressed. And so we don't all have to be monks that are never well, I don't know that monks are never stressed, but they meditate all the time. You know, so we don't have to meditate every single day for hours in order to have no stress. Just remember to take care of yourself. If it's been a stressful week, take a bubble bath, take some time off, watch your favorite TV show. Just be nice to yourself. Okay. So if you want to move beyond the basics to what I call expert mode, my favorites are hydrotherapy and red light, somewhat followed by supplements. Hydrotherapy, in particular hot cold showers, I think are fantastic. Cold exposure does increase your immune system, which you wouldn't think because everyone gets sick in the winter. But that seems to be possibly from a lack of vitamin D in the winter, possibly from being indoors all winter, and then we get the recycled air that may have more pathogens in it because it's being recycled as opposed to continual fresh air. So anyway, so cold is great. So just cold showers or cold exposure. But if you link it with heat exposure, so either sauna and then cold shower, or you can do hot cold alternating showers where you'll put the water on hot for say 30 seconds, cold for 30 seconds, and you switch back and forth. The heat will cause blood to rush to your skin, essentially, like the outer layer of your body, because you're trying to get rid of the heat. This helps release a lot of toxins that are stored in muscles and tissues. Then when you put the cold on, there's a vasoconstriction, and it brings those toxins into the bloodstream if you haven't sweat them out. Now that might sound a little scary, but it's actually really good because getting it into the bloodstream means that it will make its way to the kidneys and get excreted in urine. So you're actually able to get the toxins out better when you're pairing these two. You also get heat shock proteins, which are great for muscle recovery. So if you exercise a lot, like I told you to in the last slide, then you can do some hot exposure, which will help your muscles repair, and then cold, which will help any metabolites from the exercise to be brought back into the bloodstream. Okay, so I really love the contrast, the hot cold showers. They do just phenomenal things, and they're free. I mean, except for the cost of water. Anyway, so supplements, I'm generally not a huge fan of supplements, just because I think the doses aren't as well known as I would like them to be, if that makes sense. We don't know exactly the right dose at exactly the right time as much as I would like, but vitamin D is vital during this time of year for those of us in northern latitudes. So even if you've got a lot of vitamin D in the summer, your vitamin D levels are going to be decreasing at this time of year. And for immune system function, you need your vitamin D levels to be stable. It's not just that they have to be within the normal range. You want your level to stay at the same range all year round. So the ups and downs that we have in this northern latitude are also not good for your immune system. So you need to be supplementing even if you are outside all summer. I usually recommend between 2,000 to 5,000 IU, depending on your own comfort level. It's really not toxic until 43,000 IU. So you really don't have to worry about toxicity at these doses, okay? Red light therapies. So this one's a bit more non-traditional. So you can either go to an infrared sauna and you'll get red light exposure that way. As I said, the sun has some red light and near infrared light as well. I also sell some devices on my website called V-Light, where you get red light exposure into your brain because they are little red lights on you that go like that stick up your nose. It's like really crazy, but it works really well. So it's a little less clear why red light helps with your immune system, but it definitely helps in terms of it's a great antioxidant essentially. So yeah, we're not entirely sure why it works for immune system, but I do use mine whenever I'm getting a cold, and I have to say it really just knocks it out. Like I almost never get sick anymore since I've started using the red lights. Who knows why? Anyway, so if you've done all this and you're sick anyway, now what do you do? So if you use homeopathy, really it's about matching your symptoms to the symptoms of a remedy. So if you go online or look in books, they're all going to have lists of symptoms for each remedy, and so you're looking for those symptoms to be the same as what you're experiencing now. So, for example, if you have a runny nose and it's burning your nose, the actual mucus, it's what's called excoriating. It's like it burns when it drips. And let's say you really want to be by the heater and wrapped up. You're looking for a remedy. This is actually the remedy called Arsenicum, which we'll get to later. But that you will see in the description that the mucus burns the lips and nose, and that they want to be warm. They feel cold, they want to be by the heater, they want to be wrapped up. So you're looking for that match, okay? But there are some things to pay attention to, because remember, there are hundreds of homeopathic remedies, depending on who you talk to. They could even say thousands. And so you need to sort of figure out what to be paying attention to, because it's easy to get lost in the details, because there are so many different remedies, and each remedy can have hundreds, if not thousands, of symptoms. So it's very easy to get lost, okay? So number one, you want to be paying attention to your sensations. Are pains throbbing? Are they burning? Are they stabbing? Do you feel if there's a lump somewhere? Do you feel like something's moving around somewhere? Do you feel like something's crawling on your skin? Does the sensation feel external, like it's your skin? Does it feel internal, like bone, or internal, like an organ? These are all the things you want to be paying attention to. Okay, very specific details, not just it hurts, but hurts where and hurts how. Okay. Temperature and appetite and thirst. So this illustrates an important point in homeopathy. It's about the change from your normal. So if you are always a cold person and you get a flu and you still feel cold, that's not very exciting. It's not usually a great symptom. If you always felt cold, now you have a flu and you feel hot. That is very important. Okay? You want to make sure then you find a remedy that feels hot. The person feels hot who needs that remedy. Okay. Same with appetite and thirst. If you never drink any water, but suddenly you get this cold and all you want is cold water, that's incredibly important. Okay. But if you never wanted water to begin with and you still don't want water now that you have a cold, doesn't really matter. You don't need to find a remedy that has no thirst. Okay. Company, and so this idea of change is true for all of these things. You always want to be paying attention to something that's a change from the baseline. If it's the same as your baseline, it really doesn't matter that much. Okay, so company, who do you want to be around? If you want to be around anybody. Do you want to talk? Do you want to sit in silence? Do you want someone to say, oh, there, you poor thing? Or if someone said that, would you want to smack them in the face? That's what you want to be paying attention to, okay? Aggravating factors. These are very important in homeopathy. Very important. If you get a couple of good ones, like a couple of good aggravating factors, it's usually pretty easy to find the remedy. So are you worse in the cold? Are you worse inside? Are you worse outside? Are you worse with heat? Are you worse if someone talks to you? Are you worse when you're alone? That kind of thing. Okay, pay very close attention. And sometimes if you're unsure, just try stuff out. Like if you have a sore throat, try empty swallowing, try swallowing liquids, try swallowing solids, try talking, try breathing hard. Just see what makes it better and what makes it worse. Because it's usually really easy to find a remedy if you can, nail down a couple of these aggravating factors. Mood, and again, very important. Mood is only important if it's a change from your baseline. So if you were a sweetie and you become a sweetie, you stay a sweetie with your cold, doesn't matter. But if you were a jerk and then you turn into a sweetie with your cold, the fact that you're a sweetie is now a symptom, okay? So let's see this with a couple of different remedies. Semium, very common in colds and flus. It's usually marked by the fact that the people who need Semium are very tired, very tired. You just want to sleep. Everything feels heavy and droopy. And usually you want to be alone, you feel a bit chilly, and there's not very much thirst. Cryonia is different in that they're very thirsty. The mouth feels dry, the throat feels dry. They're very irritable, and every movement will make the person worse. So it's really common if you see somebody with a cough who needs Cryonia, they're going to hold their chest because they don't want their chest to move because it hurts when their chest moves. Okay, so it's very common in Cryonia. And see the difference with Gelsemium might not move only because they're so friggin' tired. Cryonia won't move because it makes everything worse. Okay, so it's a distinguishing factor. Arsenicum, in contrast, needs to move around all the time. They're incredibly restless, very anxious. Usually they're like, death is coming. Like this cold will kill me, right? They may say, every single little sniffle in this day and age, oh my God, it's COVID, I'm gonna die of COVID. Okay, very nervous, very scared. They also are usually very cold and want to be by the heater under the covers wrapped up tight. Okay, and they don't want to be alone, they want company. Then Euphatorium, very, very common in flu in particular, because if you know when you have the flu, it's like everything hurts. And it's like that deep, deep, deep aching. And like the bones themselves are aching. That's Euphatorium, which is classic with the flu. And usually the people are very weak and very thirsty as well. So then these are our last two remedies. So Belladonna and Aconite are both similar in that usually things will come up out of nowhere. You'll be fine 1 minute, and then the next minute you have 100-degree fever, or 39 in Celsius, or 38. I never got good at the conversion. Anyway, Belladonna. So these two are very similar. It can be really hard to tell them apart. They're both pretty restless, and the fevers are usually pretty high. So these are more commonly seen in kids, because kids tend to get those high fevers more often than adults. They'll both have hot red cheeks. However, Belladonna, sometimes you get one red cheek and one pale cheek. It's really weird, but it's a great distinguishing feature of Belladonna. Usually for aconite, the skin is dry, whereas usually there's more perspiration for Belladonna. Aconite also, I forgot to mention, usually there's a lot of fear, like in Arsenicum. So they're going to be afraid they're going to die. They're going to be absolutely petrified. Belladonna, with kids, you might see more hallucinations, which may or may not be scary, but with aconite, there's lots and lots of fear. So, contradictory symptoms. So if you are reading these and something matches exactly, except one thing, let's say. So let's say it's like you need arsenicum. So you are cold, you want to be by the heater, you're really nervous, but you have zero thirst. And let's say you used to be thirsty. So you know the fact that zero thirst is important. Arsenicum usually is very thirsty. That means arsenicum's probably not the right remedy. If you have something contradicting like that, it's probably not the right remedy. However, if something's missing, like let's say you don't have any change in body temperature, but you have arsenicum's thirst, you have the fear, you have the excoriating mucus, but you just don't have any change in body temperature, arsenicum is still probably the right remedy. So in other words, you're matching the remedy to you, not you to the remedy, if that makes any sense. It's a little bit difficult to wrap your head around, I know. So if you find the right remedy, for a cold and flu, I would consider a 30C to start. In general, lower potencies are gentler, higher are stronger. If you have a tendency to react really strongly to things, I would suggest starting lower. You could start with a 12C or a 15C, whatever you can get your hands on. And for a cold or flu, I would take it every 30 minutes to an hour. If you take a couple doses, like let's say you take 2 or 3 and you don't notice a change, it's probably not the right remedy and consider switching. This is very different in a chronic condition where you could wait weeks and you won't notice anything, but with an acute, like a cold or flu, you should notice improvement really quickly. If you get worse, by the way, then it actually probably is the right remedy. You just took too much of the too much of the remedy. The dose was too high, in other words. So um, if that happens, just start taking less the next time. Okay, so that's all I have today for colds and flus. I hope this was helpful. I hope this made the process of homeopathy a little bit clearer. I know it can sort of seem mysterious sometimes, so I hope this demystified some things. Okay, bye for now.